All right, everybody. Hello and good afternoon. Happy Wednesday to all of you bookworms. The Chatting Magpie here with the rest of the Mischief, well, the rest being three Mischief members. Me, counting me. To read Anne of Green Gables. Hello, gang. How are you doing?
Hello.
We are very organized, and we definitely didn't waste time talking about weird stuff.
Don't tell them.
Time.
Might as well. Go ahead, Teal. Give us a haiku.
Time you enjoyed wasting wasn't wasted.
Yes. Was it a haiku? No, it's not.
No.
It could be a haiku for
Close
all that
enough.
I know.
I enjoyed it, so I don't care.
I think it's true and very philosophical indeed. Love it. Thank you, Teal. So you guys, thank you for joining us. We are a little bit late and we haven't yet picked out the rules, so we're gonna do that right now, just so you guys can check out our process behind the scenes. Okay, we got 8 rules total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 8 rules.
Yes, we definitely don't have enough people for the roles, so we're going to have to double and triple up.
Yep. All right. Who's reading Anne? Teal, are you down to read Anne, or do you want to read Marilla?
I'm down to read Anne.
Okay, Teal's reading Anne. Marilla, I shall read it, because probably it's going to be a conversation, yes, between Anne and Marilla. Unless you want to do a little... You want to do... You can do both and just change your voice up a little. Kind of do like... multiple personality situation there.
Yes.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do that?
Well, Diana actually talks, I think, more to Anne than Marilla, but...
Okay. So, you can do then Marilla, because you are a great Marilla. Yes, I think everybody listening will agree. And then I shall do Diana, since I already kind of have like a voice. By the way, the voice that I use for Diana is the one I used to use for Hannelore back when we were reading, if you didn't notice. Yeah, it's sweet, cute, Shume-like. Yes. All right. Next rules. We have Mrs. Evans, we have Jane, we have Matthew. Patrick, are you reading Matthew?
Of course I'm doing Matthew.
Okay. Mrs. Berry, do you want to do another role? You have... I think you've done Mrs. Berry before, right? Miss Berry?
Did I do Miss Berry? I was thinking of doing Mrs. Evans, since I don't have anything for the first chapter.
Sure thing. You are Mrs. Evans now. Jane, Miss Berry. I'll do Miss Berry, I guess. I'm ready for my voice. Okay. What was that?
Well, I wasn't going to say no to doing Miss Berry. I was just, trying to go in order.
Oh. We're kind of in a rush, so we can't really go in order right now.
I mean, you skipped over a whole role, and I'm like, we still need that one.
Okay. Hold your horses. You can be Miss Berry too. There you go.
Thank you.
I love that little thanks. All right, Teal. You want to read either Jane or Josie, or are you good with those 2 roles? Because I can easily pick up any one of those.
I'll be Jane if you be Josie, I guess. Let's make it easy.
Josie! Oh gosh. Josie and the Pussycats. Yes, dating myself. Blah, blah. All right. Teal is Jane. Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Chatting Magpies Read Along. We're now ready. Let me go see who was first on the chat. We had Crusher.
I think this is the fastest we've ever chosen rules.
Yeah, because you guys got embarrassed. Usually I have to beg you guys. So I like to see some gumption now and then. So we see Crusher was the very first one. It says, hey all, Crusher, if you're listening to us on your way back home, do join us. We could give you a roll or 2, maybe. We also have Fuji Petals floating in the river, who says hello to Crusher. And says also, Dragoner has woven our threads together once more. Indeed, we are so blessed to be together here, everybody. For some more read along. Let's see. Akihana is also here, says, or was, or is. I don't know. Oh, there she is. Says, good morning. We'll tune into in the background while I break my fast. Yes, enjoy your breakfast. I hope it's something yummy, delicious, and refreshing. Is it monsoon season already? I think you told us that summer. I think in a previous video you talked about how it's the end of summer where you're at and it's now rainy season. How's the weather over there?
Well, from one of my favorite channels, Anne's Canada, he definitely said it's rainy season for them, so probably monsoon season.
Okay. Refreshing. Send some rain over to us here in the West Coast. I would love some rain. Alright, you guys. So, today we're going to be reading Anne of Green Gables chapter 33 and 34. Do you guys remember what's been happening since in the last read along? Like what happened chapter 31 and 32? Any idea, or has it been too long?
Anne got accepted into Queen's.
Yes, she did indeed. It took a whole 3 weeks, nerve-wracking weeks for the poor girl. But yes, and how did she do? Did she just make it, or there was somebody who just managed to pass? Who was that?
Josie Pye.
Josie Pye. And what about
Josie and the Pussycats?
right? And what about Gil? I mean, the one who shall not be named, you guys. How did that person do?
He tied with Anne.
Oh, he tied with Anne, and they both came in first in the whole island that year.
And Anne was oh so happy about this.
Yeah, she was. So we have that happening. Chapter 31 also kind of was like a transition chapter. At least I felt that way because it's called Where the Broken River Meet. Kind of a transition as Anne is going from childhood to young, like teenage, like full-on teenagehood. So that was kind of had a little bit of bittersweet tones in it, especially how we see Marilla, how she's looking on at Anne, and we get a full confession there that Marilla really does dote on Anne, even though she tries, hard not to be so soft and like sentimental, but she does love Anne, and it's kind of a little wistful about how the girl is just growing up. But it's life, so either way, she's just absolutely proud of Anne, and love to see it. Anyways, that's what's been happening. Today we're going to continue on with chapter 33 and 34. The first chapter is called The Hotel Concert. If you watch the anime, it's already been covered, so you already know what's gonna happen there, what are some interesting scenes, but for those of you who haven't, we'll not spoil you. We have today reading the following people. We have Anne is going to be read by Teal. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to read out the name of the reader and then just list the names that they're reading because it's easier that way. Okay, Teal will be reading Anne, Marilla, Jane, and that's it. Patrick will be reading Mrs. Evans, Matthew, and Miss Barry. And I, Magpie, shall be narrator. I shall also be doing Diana and Josie Pye. And again, thank you so much to our highlighters, Iremy and Theo, who make the highlights so that we can read to our heart's content and delight. All right, peeps, you ready? Let's do this.
Yay.
Chapter 33, The Hotel Concert. Put on your white organdy by all means, Anne, advised Diana decidedly. They were together in the East Gable chamber. Outside it was only twilight, a lovely yellowish-green twilight with a clear blue cloudless sky. A big round moon slowly deepening from her pallid luster into burnished silver, hung over the haunted wood. The air was full of sweet summer sounds, sleepy birds twittering, freakish breezes, faraway voices, and laughter. But in Anne's room the blind was drawn and the lamp lighted, for an important toilet was being made. The East Gable was a very different place from that which it had been on that night 4 years before, when Anne had felt its bareness penetrate to the marrow of her spirit with its inhospitable chill. Changes had crept in, Marilla conniving at them resignedly, until it was as sweet and dainty a nest as a young girl could desire. The velvet carpet with the pink roses and the pink silk curtains of Anne's early visions had certainly never materialized, but her dreams had kept pace with her growth, and it is not probable she lamented them. The floor was covered with the pretty matting, and the curtains that softened the high window and fluttered in the vagrant breezes were of pale green art muslin. The walls, hung not with gold and silver brocade tapestry, but with a dainty apple blossom paper, were adorned with a few good pictures given Anne by Mrs. Allen. Miss Stacy's photograph occupied the place of honor, and Anne made a sentimental point of keeping fresh flowers on the bracket under it. It reminds me of those altars for the dead. Sorry. Um, Continuing on. Tonight, a spike of white lilies faintly perfumed the room like the dream of a fragrance. There was no mahogany furniture, but there was a white painted bookcase filled with books, a cushioned wicker rocker, a toilet table befrilled with white muslin, a quaint, gilt-framed mirror with chubby pink cupids and purple grapes painted over its arched top, that used to hang in the spare room, and a low white bed. Anne was dressing for a concert at the White Sands Hotel. The guests had got it up in aid of the Charlottetown Hospital, and had hunted out all the available amateur talent in the surrounding districts to help it along. Bertha Sampson and Pearl Clay of White Sands. Sorry. Sorry. Bertha Sampson and Pearl Clay of the White Sands Baptist Choir had been asked to sing a duet. Milton Clark of Newbridge was to give a violin solo. Winnie Adela Blair of Carmody was to sing a Scotch ballad, and Laura Spencer of Spencerville and Anne Shirley of Avonlea were to recite. As Anne would have said at one time, it was an epoch in her life, and she was deliciously thrilled with the excitement of it. Matthew was in the seventh heaven of gratified pride over the honor conferred on his Anne, and Marilla was not far behind. Although she would have rather died than admit it, and said she didn't think it was very proper for a lot of young folks to be getting over to the hotel without any responsible person with them. Anne and Diana were to drive over with Jane Andrews and her brother Billy in their double-seated buggy, and several other Avonlea girls and boys were going too. There was a party of visitors expected out from town, and after the concert, a supper was to be given to the performers.
Do you really think the organdy will be best?
Queried Anne anxiously.
I don't think it's as pretty as my blue-flowered muslin, and it certainly isn't so fashionable.
But it suits you ever so much better, said Diana. It's so soft and frilly and clinging. The muslin is stiff and makes you look too dressed up, but the organdy seems as if it grew on you. Anne sighed and yielded. Diana was beginning to have a reputation for notable taste in dressing, and her advice on such subjects was much sought after. She was looking very pretty herself on this particular night, in a dress of the lovely wild rose pink, from which Anne was forever debarred. She was not to take any part in the concert, so her appearance was of minor importance. All her pains were bestowed upon Anne, who she vowed must, for the credit of Avonlea, be dressed and combed and adorned to the queen's taste. Pull out that frill a little more. So, here, let me tie your sash. Now for your slippers. I'm going to braid your hair in 2 thick braids and tie them halfway up with white bows. No, don't pull out a single curl over your forehead. Just have... No, sorry. No, don't don't pull out a single curl over your forehead. Just have the soft part. There's no way you do your hair. There's no way you do your hair suits you so well, Anne. Interesting. There is no way you do your hair suits you so well, Anne. And Mrs. Allen says you look like a Madonna when you part it so. I shall fasten this little white rose just behind your ear. There was just one on my bush, and I saved it for you.
Shall I put my pearl beads on? Matthew brought me a string from town last week, and I know he'd like to see them on me.
Diana pursed up her lips, put her black head on one side critically, and finally pronounced in favor of the beads, which were thereupon tied around Anne's slim milk-white throat. There's something so stylish about you, Anne, said Diana with unenvious admiration. You hold your head with such an air. I suppose it's your figure. I am just a dumpling. I've always been afraid of it, and now I know it is so. Well, I suppose I shall just have to resign myself to it,
But you have such dimples.
said Anne, smiling affectionately into the pretty, vivacious face so near her own.
Lovely dimples. Like little dents in cream. I've given up all hope of dimples. My dimple dream will never come true, but so many of my dreams have that I mustn't complain. Am I all ready now?
All ready, assured Diana as Marilla appeared in the doorway, a gaunt figure with grayer hair than of yore and no fewer angles, but with a much softer face. Come right in and look at our elocutionist, Marilla. Doesn't she look lovely? Marilla emitted a sound between a sniff and a grunt.
She looks neat and proper. I like that way of fixing her hair. But I expect she'll ruin that dress driving over there in dust and dew with it, and it looks most too thin for these damp nights. Organdy's the most unserviceable stuff in the world, anyhow. And I told Matthew so when he got it. There's no use in saying anything to Matthew nowadays. Time was when he would take my advice, but now he just buys things for Anne regardless. And the clerks at Carmody know they can palm anything off on him. Just tell them a thing is pretty and fashionable, and Matthew plunks his money down for it. Mind you keep your skirt clear of the wheel, Anne, and put your warm jacket on.
Then Marilla stalked downstairs, thinking proudly how sweet Anne looked, with that one moonbeam from the forehead to the crown, and regretting that she could not go to the concert herself to hear her girl recite.
I wonder if it is too damp for my dress,
Said Anne anxiously. Not a bit of it, said Diana, pulling up the window blind. It's a perfect night, and there won't be any dew. Look at the moonlight.
I'm so glad my window looks east into the sun rising.
Said Anne, going over to Diana.
It's so splendid to see the morning come up over those long hills and glowing through those sharp fir tops. It's new every morning, and I feel as if I've washed my very soul in that bath of earliest sunshine. Oh, Diana, I love this little room so dearly. I don't know how I'll get along without it when I go to town next month.
Don't speak of your going away tonight, begged Diana. I don't want to think of it. It makes me so miserable. And I do want to have a good time this evening. What are you going to recite, Anne? And are you nervous?
Not a bit. I've recited so often in public I don't mind at all now. I've decided to give The Maiden's Vow. It's so pathetic. Laura Spencer is going to give a comic recitation, but I'd rather make people cry than laugh.
What will you recite if they encore you?
They won't dream of encoring me.
Scoffed Anne, who was not without her own secret hopes that they would, and already visioned herself telling Matthew all about it at the next morning's breakfast table.
There are Billy and Jane now. I hear the wheels. Come on.
Billy Andrews insisted that Anne should ride on the front seat with him, so she unwillingly climbed up. She would have much preferred to sit back with the girls where she could have laughed and chattered to her heart's content. There was not much of either laughter or chatter in Billy. He was a big, fat, stolid youth of 20, with a round, expressionless face, and a painful lack of conversational gifts. But he admired Anne immensely, and was puffed up with pride over the prospect of driving to White Sands with that slim, upright figure beside him. Anne, by dint of talking over her shoulder to the girls, and occasionally passing a sop of civility to Billy, who grinned and chuckled and never could think of any reply until it was too late, contrived to enjoy the drive in spite of it all. It was a night for enjoyment. The road was full of buggies, all bound for the hotel, and laughter, silver clear, echoed and re-echoed along it. When they reached the hotel, it was a blaze of light from top to bottom, and they were met by ladies of the concert committee, one of whom took Anne off to the performers' dressing room, which was filled with the members of a charlatan symphony club, among whom Anne felt suddenly shy and frightened and countrified. Her dress, which in the East Gable had seemed so dainty and pretty, now seemed simple and plain. Too simple and plain, she thought, among all the silks and laces that glistened and rustled around her. What were her pearl beads compared to the diamonds of the big handsome lady near her? And how poor her one wee rose must look beside all the hothouse flowers the others wore. Anne laid her hat and jacket away and shrank miserably into a corner. She wished herself back at the White Room at Green Gables. It was still worse on the platform of the big concert hall of the hotel, where she presently found herself. The electric lights dazzled her eyes, and the perfume and hum bewildered her. She wished she were sitting down in the audience with Diana and Jane, who seemed to be having a splendid time away at the back. She was wedged in between a stout lady in pink silk and a tall, scornful-looking girl in a white lace dress. The stout lady occasionally turned her head squarely around and surveyed Anne through her eyeglasses, until Anne, acutely sensitive of being so scrutinized, felt that she must scream aloud. The white lace girl kept talking audibly to her next neighbor about the country bumpkins and rustic belles in the audience, languidly anticipating such fun from the displays of local talent on the program. Anne believed that she would hate that white lace girl to the end of her life. Unfortunately for Anne, a professional elocutionist was staying at the hotel and consented to recite. She was a lithe, dark-eyed woman in a wonderful gown of shimmering gray stuff like woven moonbeams, with gems on her neck and in her dark hair. She had a marvelously flexible voice and wonderful power of expression. The audience went wild over her selection. Anne, forgetting all about herself and her troubles for a time, listened with rapt and shining eyes. But when the recitation ended, she suddenly put her hands over her face. She could never get up and recite after that. Never! Had she ever thought she could recite? Oh, if she were only back at Green Gables! At this unpropitious moment, her name was called. Somehow Anne, who did not notice the rather guilty little start of surprise the white lace girl gave, and would not have understood the subtle compliment implied therein if she had, got on her feet and moved dizzily out to the front. She was so pale that Diana and Jane, down in the audience, clasped each other's hands in nervous sympathy. Anne was the victim of an overwhelming attack of stage fright. Often as she had recited in public, she had never before faced such an audience as this, and the sight of it paralyzed her energies completely. Everything was so strange, so brilliant, so bewildering. The rows of ladies in evening dress, the critical faces, the whole atmosphere of wealth and culture about her. Very different, this, from the plain benches at the debating club, filled with the homely, sympathetic faces of friends and neighbors. These people, she thought, would be merciless critics. Perhaps, like the white-lace girl, they anticipated amusement from her rustic efforts. She felt hopelessly, helplessly ashamed and miserable. Her knees trembled, her heart fluttered. A horrible faintness came over her. Not a word could she utter, and the next moment she would have fled from the platform, despite the humiliation which she felt must ever be her portion if she did so. But suddenly, as her dilated, frightened eyes gazed out over the audience, she saw Gilbert Blythe, away at the back of the room, bending forward with a smile on his face. A smile which seemed to Anne at once triumphant and taunting. In reality, it was nothing of the kind. Gilbert was merely smiling in appreciation of the whole affair in general, and of the effect produced by Anne's slender white form and spiritual face against a background of palms in particular. Josie Pye, whom he had driven over, sat beside him, and her face certainly was both triumphant and daunting. But Anne did not see Josie, and would not have cared if she had. She drew a long breath and flung her head up proudly, courage and determination tinkling over her like an electric shock. She would not fail before Gilbert Blythe. He should never be able to laugh at her. Never, never. Her fright and nervousness vanished, and she began her recitation, her clear, sweet voice reaching to the furthest corner of the room without a tremor or a break. Self-possession was fully restored to her, and in the reaction from that horrible moment of powerlessness, she recited as she had never done before. When she finished, there were bursts of honest applause. Anne, stepping back to her seat, blushing with shyness and delight, found her hand vigorously clasped and shaken by the stout lady in pink silk.
My dear, you did splendidly.
She puffed.
I've been crying like a baby. Actually, I have. They're encoring you. They're bound to have you back.
Oh, I can't go.
Said Anne confusedly.
But yet, I must, or Matthew will be disappointed. He said they would encore me.
Then don't disappoint Matthew.
Said the pink lady, laughing. Smiling, blushing, limpid-eyed, Anne tripped back and gave a quaint, funny little selection that captivated her audience still further. The rest of the evening was quite a little triumph for her. When the concert was over, the stout pink lady, who was the wife of an American millionaire, took her under her wing and introduced her to everybody, and everybody was very nice to her. The professional elocutionist, Mrs. Evans, came and chatted with her, telling her that she had a charming and interpreted that she had a charming telling her that she had a charming voice and interpreted her selections beautifully. Even the white-lace girl paid her a languid little compliment. They had supper in the big, beautifully decorated dining room. Diana and Jane were invited to partake of this also, since they had come with Anne. But Billy was nowhere to be found, having decamped in mortal fear of some such invitation. He was in waiting for them with the team, however, when it was all over, and the girls came merrily out into the calm white moonshine radiance. Anne breathed deeply and looked into the clear sky beyond the dark boughs of the firs. Oh, it was good to be out again in the purity and silence of the night. How great and still and wonderful everything was, with the murmur of the sea sounding through it, and the darkling cliffs beyond, like grim giants guarding enchanted coasts.
Hasn't it been a perfectly splendid time?
Sighed Jane as they drove away.
I just wish I was a rich American and could spend my summer at a hotel and wear jewels and low neck dresses and have ice cream and chicken salad every blessed day. I'm sure it would be ever so much more fun than teaching school. Anne, Anne, your recitation was simply great, although I thought at first you were never going to begin. I think it was better than Mrs. Evans's. Oh no, don't say things like that, Jane,
said Anne quickly.
because it sounds silly. It couldn't be better than Mrs. Evans's, for she is a professional, and I'm only a schoolgirl with a little knack of reciting. I'm quite satisfied if the people just like mine pretty well.
I have a compliment for you, Anne, said Diana. At least I think it must be a compliment because of the tone he said it in. Part of it was, anyhow. There was an American sitting behind Jane and me. Such a romantic-looking man with coal-black hair and eyes. Josie Pye says he's a distinguished artist and that her mother's cousin in Boston is married to a man that used to go to school with him. Well, we heard him say, didn't we, Jane? Who is that girl on the platform with the splendid Titian hair? She has a face I should like to paint. There now, Anne. But what does Titian hair mean?
Being interpreted, it means plain red, I guess,
laughed Anne.
Titian was a very famous artist who liked to paint red-haired women. Did you see all the diamonds those ladies wore?
Sighed Jane.
They were simply dazzling. Wouldn't you love to be rich, girls? We are rich,
said Anne staunchly.
Why, we have 16 years to our credit, and we're happy as queens, and we've all got imaginations, more or less. Look at that sea, girls. All silver and shadow and visions of things not seen. We couldn't enjoy its loveliness any more if we had millions of dollars and ropes of diamonds. You wouldn't change into any of those women if you could. Would you want to be that white lace girl and wear a sour look all your life, as if you'd been born turning up your nose at the world? Or the pink lady, kind and nice as she is, so stout and short that you'd really no figure at all? Or even Mrs. Evans, with that sad, sad look in her eyes? She must have been dreadfully unhappy sometime to have such a look. You know you wouldn't, Jane Andrews. I don't know exactly,
said Jane, unconvinced.
I think diamonds would comfort a person for a good deal. Well, I don't want to be anyone but myself, even if I go uncomforted by diamonds all my life,
declared Anne.
I'm quite content to be Anne of Green Gables with my string of pearl beads. I know Matthew gave me as much love with them as ever went with Madame the Pink Lady's jewels.
End of chapter.
I love Anne's interpretation of wealth. Spiritual wealth is far more important than monetary wealth.
Yeah, it's true. Though a little money couldn't hurt. I don't know, you guys. They say, was it? Money can't buy you happiness, but it sure can make life easier sometimes. Sometimes, not.
I mean, that is true.
But yeah, I think she is. I think it's. I was actually thinking, you guys, and this might be my interpretation. It's part of being young is you have these high things where you just turn up your nose. I'm sorry, I read it differently. Like, that's one of the idealisms of youth, where you're just like, me, I don't need money. I got my youth, I got my friends, I'm like, yeah, I know, it's very noble, but just saying, I wouldn't mind a diamond necklace or something, whatever. as
okay, Jane.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I would like to be a millionaire, or in her case, marry a millionaire or whatever. But I do like that it goes like the sentiments that Anne is saying are absolutely spot on with her characterization, because we know that she is more of like attuned to like higher, more exalted, idealistic things, and that's nice. That's really nice. I'm sorry, you guys. I have lived through some harsh things in life, and I know that I would not. You can only have that the luxury of turning up your nose at money it's a luxury. It really is. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
having the money to take care of the daily essentials, yeah, that helps give you a good baseline. But in the end, money will not make you happy.
Yeah, it
Money-
won't.
Money will, in many ways, money just traps you.
Mhm.
So I'd say seek that spiritual wealth where you're happy with your place in the world, and you just need the bare essentials. So you don't really need that huge bank account, because that's never going to make you happy. That'll just make you want more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's see. What else was I think during the chat somebody was talking about there was something along those lines about the money, but then I think it's better that I just don't, because I think there's spoiler somewhere in there about money. So anyway, so we have here a question. How do we become a professional elocutionist? That's right, Teal. I told you how you become a professional elocutionist. You go and record audiobooks. That's what professional elocutionists are doing nowadays.
You're right.
That's actually a really, really true statement.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, think of people like Reba Burr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can either become a voice actor or something like that. I think they would have more job opportunity. No, I don't know. Well, I think as a professional elocutionist, you would be, just on stages or whatever back then, because back then it was just live. There were no recordings. But nowadays, your talent could go further. More people could listen to it, and yeah. It's pretty impressive what you can do with technology now. And by the way,
I was gonna say, by the way, we have a wild Akihana in the chat.
Is Akihana with us? Oh, Akihana, welcome. I didn't see you. Discord doesn't give the sound. Well, when we go live, I can never hear when somebody goes or leaves.
Look. If you have yourself set to streamer mode, you're not going to hear the notification.
Yeah. Welcome, Akihana.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. I was trying to speak earlier, but I think my signal was wonky, so I switched to my phone.
Well, we can hear you nice and clear. All good with breakfast and stuff?
Yeah, I already did. And I just wanted to tune into all that talk about money and diamonds earlier.
You know what? I was just thinking, like, you guys. Okay, I have a thing for shiny things, which is very much in keeping with my magpie persona. So also do take my words like, okay, just take it with a grain of salt. It's not an absolutism. So just saying, I do like shiny things. So what is your opinion about what Anne said, and do you agree with her thoughts about what really?
But it just reminded me of something that happened in class during my, I think, high school or university days, where the class would be split into two as to whether or not your team money is needed or team money is not needed to be happy. That kind of stuff, and everyone was giving out arguments left and right. That time, I have to admit, I was on the money is not necessary, because the whole teenager thing. You don't need money to be happy. You have other stuff. You have your family. You have your hobbies and whatnot. But then once you get older, you realize no, money is needed. Money is a necessary evil. If one way of putting it, money is a necessary evil. Like, you can't not live without money. It may not bring you happiness, but it sure does help.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the realities of adulting.
Yeah. Sad to say, that is the case.
I will hold true to my statement that it is not necessary.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that it is necessary. I'm just saying that it helps. It helps. It helps a lot.
Yeah. Money exists independently of happiness, but it can help you to thrive in the real world. There's no denying that.
It's like a tool. Like, you can either use it for happiness or unhappiness. And it doesn't even have to be your happiness, because I know people who have, like, they have a means, and they are such, their heart is so generous. And I have never met people that are so cool. They are at peace. They're just like, okay, like, they hear of a need, and they devote their time and a lot of their resources towards, like, being generous to others. And I think that's where you can get happiness from. When you use it for a good cause or for others, I think that's when money stops being a curse. Because a lot of times also you get that, if you win the lottery, then, like, you don't know who your friends are, whatever. You get those kind of scenarios. But if you use money for good things, then it doesn't have to be all bad. So we got elocutionist, we got money situation discussed. We got, let's see, milk and bread. Milk and bread is delicious. Yummy. Let's see. Yeah, Fuji petals floating in the river reminds Teal. Teal, you already elocute. Elocute.
I saw that as a command. Like, you elocute, you'll be a professional elocutionist. Not that I do it very well right now.
Well, then become it. Sheesh. When are you recording your first audiobook, Teal? When?
Well, what should I read? I don't know.
Should we re-record stuff? I have done audiobooks in my professional experience. We can work on a project. I don't know if they would sell, because I don't know how to market them. So we'd have trouble there. Never mind. Let's see. Fuji petals floating on the river also reminds us of another instance of elocution. Who said this line, you guys? There's another, not a sister. Anybody remember? I can't believe you guys don't remember.
Yeah, is that part of the Maiden's Vow that we saw in the anime?
No. I'm pretty sure I'm positive. I'm absolutely sure. There is, in the first time when Anne got her new dress and she did the things, right? She did her
right.
Yeah, and she and Diana were walking home afterwards, and Diana's like, how could you not like how could you be so mean to Gilbert? When he was doing his recitation, he's like, when he was saying this part about there's another, not a sister, he looked straight at you. So yeah. You guys, don't you remember that?
Singing on the Rhine. Yes, I remember now.
Well, I think that's just proof that our resident romantic is Magpie.
Yeah, yes. Come on, is that news? I am a romance junkie. Incurable. Let's see. Who would have thought, says Akihana, Who would have thought that it would be Gilbert and Josie to give her that needed push? Yeah, and also, why is Gilbert riding around with that Josie? Huh?
I think it was more, Josie. Well, not Josie. It was more Gilbert than Josie because Anne basically said, "Yeah, I don't really care about Josie. It's all Gilbert, and he's lording it over me, and I need to show him."
Oh, my child.
Yeah, I saw it as Josie artificed the situation to needle Anne, and Anne just didn't even notice and was like, "Gil, I'll show you."
although in the anime, I think they portrayed it in a way that Josie definitely got to her as well. Like, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, the subtitle said something along the lines of her not giving the two of them any satisfaction or whatnot like that.
It's still very much on brand. With
If
her.
my memory, yeah, like she doesn't want to give them the satisfaction of failing or something. It's just so clear that it's just so obvious that Anne really doesn't like Josie so much. Like, out of all the girls in her class, Josie's probably her number one enemy.
Oh my gosh. Come on. They're such sillies. But
And
yeah.
let's face it. Let's face it, even to us readers, Josie can be a pain in the ass.
Somebody has to be the nemesis, you guys. So, because in reality, okay, so far as we have seen, everybody loves Anne and she loves most everybody, right? But Josie Pye's there to be a thorn in her side, to keep it realistic. Avonlea is not a perfect place. There's all kinds of people. There's all sorts. And one of those sorts is Josie Pye, who will always be kind of little hateful little
A prick.
girl. And so she can't help it. The author has said that she's going to be that thorn in Anne's side. But that's okay because I think Anne is destined for greater things, and we all know that Anne is superior than her. Remember, Josie Pye barely got into the high school by the skin of her teeth, whereas Anne was first in place. So, it's okay, Josie Pye. You just keep barking like a little dog. Nobody cares. No, nobody believes you. Teal says, compared to the manhwa I read, Josie Pye is a pretty nice nemesis to have. Oh. What kind of manhwa have you been reading?
Manhwa has
normal ones, but there's usually quite the bully situations happening in those, I feel.
Yeah, manhwa has some very interesting characters, to say the least.
Oh, yes. I love all those archetypes, because a lot of manhwa just kind of are similar to each other, but I can always rely on the hateful, either like jealous girl who likes the same guy as the protagonist, or the evil sister, or the evil mother, or a combination of all of those. So
I honestly can't help. Just now, I couldn't help but think to Archie's Betty and Veronica and see that Josie Pye and Anne's relationship is kind of similar to that dynamic, minus the best friend side. Like they have this kind of love-hate relationship. Like, she doesn't 100% hate her, but she doesn't like her either.
Yeah. And I think also that we could see, maybe, we never know. You know how in manhwas or like Japanese mangas you have like, or in shoujos at least, you have the, what's it called? The nemesis eventually making up with the protagonist, or the other way. I don't know. Maybe we can get a Josie Pye redemption arc.
Mhm.
Who knows? Who knows? Keep
Who
reading.
knows?
Keep reading to find out. All right,
Mhm.
peeps, we're gonna continue on. I just remembered I have a little something to get to at 5:30, so we better finish the second chapter. Here's hoping that we finish on time. Okay, let's do this chapter. Oh, by the way, Akihana, do you want to take a roll? I have one that I can give you.
Sure,
You can do Josie Pye.
sure, I can.
All right. Unless anybody else wants to give her another role, but I can give you Josie Pye. Okay, you're a Josie Pye. Enjoy it.
Okay, of all the characters, and I was just this guy.
I know.
You can,
I
you can
only-
also take Miss Mary if you want.
I don't mind. I don't mind. I just need to get the file.
Okay. Let me see if I can copy and paste it. File is in. Sorry, guys. We're very organized indeed. Hashtag voice chat. I just pasted it.
We are professionals here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, look. Teal did it too.
And
Awesome.
Twinsies.
the only one of us getting
Jinx.
paid here is Magpie.
Thank you very much, by the way, for your support. Any little bit helps around here. If you want to join us for our read-alongs, you can do so by clicking that join button and becoming a member at the Noble tier, which gives you access to the Discord server. All right, let's do this. Chapter 34, Anne's Girl. Let's get this started. Mrs. Berry and Josie will be read by Akihana. All right. Chapter 34, and A Queen's Girl. The next 3 weeks were busy ones at Green Gables, for Anne was getting ready to go to Queen's and there was much sewing to be done, and many things to be talked over and arranged. Anne's outfit was ample and pretty, for Matthew saw to that, and Marilla for once made no objections whatever to anything he purchased or suggested. More, one evening she went up to the east gable with her arms full of a delicate pale green material.
Anne, here's something for a nice light dress for you. I don't suppose you really need it. You've plenty of pretty waists. But I thought maybe you'd like something real dressy to wear if you were asked out anywhere of an evening in town, to a party or anything like that. I hear that Jane and Ruby and Josie have got evening dresses, as they call them, and I don't mean you shall be behind them. I got Mrs. Allen to help me pick it in town last week, and we'll get Emily Gillis to make it for you. Emily has got taste, and her fits aren't to be equaled. Oh, Marilla, it's just lovely. Thank you so much. I don't believe you ought to be so kind to me. It's making it harder every day for me to go away.
The green dress was made up with as many tucks and frills and shirrings as Emily's taste permitted. Anne put it on one evening for Matthew and Marilla's benefit and recited the maiden's vow for them in the kitchen. As Marilla watched the bright animated face and graceful motions, her thoughts went back to the evening Anne had arrived at Green Gables, and memory recalled a vivid picture of the odd, frightened child in her preposterous yellow-brown wincey dress, the heartbreak looking out of her tearful eyes. Something in the memory brought tears to Marilla's own eyes.
I declare, my recitation has made you cry, Marilla,
said Anne gaily, stooping over Marilla's chair to drop a butterfly kiss on the lady's cheek.
Now, I call that a positive triumph. No, I wasn't crying over your piece,
said Marilla, who would have scorned to be betrayed into such weakness by any poetry stuff.
I just couldn't help but think of the little girl you used to be, Anne. And I was wishing you could have stayed a little girl, even with all your queer ways. You've grown up now and you're going away, and you look so tall and stylish, and so different altogether in that dress, as if you didn't belong in Avonlea at all. And I just got lonesome thinking it all over. Marilla!
Anne sat down on Marilla's gingham lap, took Marilla's lined face between her hands, and looked gravely and tenderly into Marilla's eyes.
I'm not a bit changed. Not really. I'm only just pruned down and branched out. The real me, back here, is just the same. It won't make a bit of difference where I go or how much I change outwardly. At heart, I shall always be your little Anne, who will love you and Matthew and dear Green Gables and more and better every day of her life.
Anne laid her fresh young cheek against Marilla's faded one, and reached out a hand to pat Matthew's shoulder. Marilla would have given much just then to have possessed Anne's power of putting her feelings into words. But nature and habit had willed it otherwise, and she could only put her arms close about her girl and hold her tenderly to her heart, wishing that she need never let her go. Matthew, with a suspicious moisture in his eyes, got up and went out of doors. Under the stars of the summer blue night, he walked agitatedly across the yard to the gate under the poplars.
Well, now, I guess she ain't been much spoiled.
He muttered proudly.
I guess my putting my oar in occasional never did much harm after all. She's smart and pretty and loving too, which is better than all the rest. She's been a blessing to us, and there never was a luckier mistake than what Miss Spencer made. If it was luck. I don't believe it was any such thing. It was Providence, because the Almighty saw we needed her, and I reckon.
The day finally came when Anne must go to town. She and Matthew drove in one fine September morning, after a tearful parting with Diana, and an untearful practical one, on Marilla's side at least, with Marilla. But when Anne had gone, Diana dried her tears and went to a beach picnic at White Sands with some of her Carmody cousins, where she contrived to enjoy herself tolerably well. While Marilla plunged fiercely into unnecessary work and kept at it all day long with the bitterest kind of heartache, the ache that burns and gnaws and cannot wash itself away in ready tears. But that night, when Marilla went to bed, acutely and miserably conscious that the little gable room at the end of the hall was untenanted by any vivid young life and unstirred by any soft breathing, she buried her face in her pillow and wept for her girl in a passion of sobs that appalled her when she grew calm enough to reflect how very wicked it must be to take on so about a sinful fellow creature. Anne and the rest of the Avonlea scholars reached town just in time to hurry off to the academy. That first day passed pleasantly enough in a whirl of excitement, meeting all the new students, learning to know the professors by sight, and being assorted and organized into classes. Anne intended taking up the second year's work, being advised to do so by Miss Stacy. Gilbert Blythe elected to do the same. This meant getting a first-class teacher's license in 1 year instead of 2, if they were successful. But it also meant much more and harder work. Jane, Ruby, Josie, Charlie, and Moody Spurgeon, not being troubled with the stirrings of ambition, were content to take up the second-class work. Anne was conscious of a pang of loneliness when she found herself in a room with 50 other students, not one of them whom she knew, except the tall, brown-haired boy across the room. And knowing him in the fashion she did not help her much, as she reflected pessimistically. Yet she was undeniably glad that they were in the same class. The old rivalry could still be carried on, and Anne would hardly have known what to do if it had been lacking.
I wouldn't feel comfortable without it.
she thought.
Gilbert looks awfully determined. I suppose he's making up his mind, here and now, to win the medal. What a splendid chin he has. I never noticed it before. I do wish Jane and Ruby had gone in for first class, too. I suppose I won't feel so much like a cat in a strange garret when I get acquainted, though. I wonder which of the girls here are going to be my friends. It's really an interesting speculation. Of course, I promised Diana that no Queen's girl, no matter how much I liked her, should ever be as dear to me as she is. But I've got lots of second-best affections to bestow. I like the look of that girl with the brown eyes and the crimson waist. She looks vivid and red-rosy. There's that pale, fair one gazing out of the window. She has lovely hair, and she looks as if she knew a thing or two about dreams. I'd like to know them both, know them well enough to walk with my arm about their waists and call them nicknames. But just now I don't know them, and they don't know me, and probably don't want to know me particularly. Oh, it's lonesome.
It was lonesomer still when Anne found herself alone in her hall bedroom that night at twilight. She was not too bored with the other girls, who had all relatives in town to take pity on them. Miss Josephine Barry would have liked to board her, but Beechwood was so far from the academy that it was out of the question. So Miss Barry hunted up a boarding house, assuring Matthew and Marilla that it was the very place for Anne.
The lady who keeps it is a reduced gentlewoman. Her husband was a British officer, and she is very careful what sort of boarders she takes, and will not meet with any objectionable persons under her foot. The table is good, and the house is near the academy, in a quiet neighborhood.
All this might be quite true, and indeed proved to be so, but it did not materially help Anne in the first agony of homesickness that seized upon her. She looked dismally about her narrow little room, with its dull-papered, pictureless walls, its small iron bedstead and empty bookcase, and a horrible choke came into her throat as she thought of her own white room at Green Gables, where she would have the pleasant consciousness of a great green still outdoors, of sweet peas growing in her garden, and moonlight falling on the orchard, of the brook below the slope, and the spruce boughs tossing in the night wind beyond it, of a vast starry sky, and the light from Diana's window shining out through the gap in the trees. Here there was nothing of this. Anne knew that outside of her window was a hard street, with a network of telephone wires shutting out the sky, the tramp of alien feet, and 1,000 lights gleaming on stranger faces. She knew that she was going to cry, and fought against it.
I won't cry. It's silly and weak. There's the third tear splashing down by my nose. There are more coming. I must think of something funny to stop them. But there's nothing funny except what is connected with Avonlea, and that only makes things worse. 4, 5. I'm going home next Friday, but that seems 100 years away. Oh, Matthew is nearly home by now, and Marilla is at the gate, looking down the lane for him. 6, 7, 8. Oh, there's no use in counting them. They're coming in a flood presently. I can't cheer up. I don't want to cheer up. It's nicer to be miserable.
The flood of tears would have come, no doubt, had not Josie Pye appeared at that moment. In the joy of seeing a familiar face, Anne forgot that there had never been much love lost between her and Josie. As a part of Avonlea life, even a pie was welcome.
I'm so glad you came up,
Anne said sincerely.
Saying,
Remarked Josie with aggravating pity.
I suppose you're homesick. Some people have so little self-control in that respect. I've no intention of being homesick, I can tell you. Sounds too jolly after that pocket old Avonlea. I wonder how I ever existed there so long. You shouldn't cry, Anne. It isn't becoming. For your nose and eyes get red, and then you seem all red. I had a perfectly scrumptious time in the academy today. Our French professor is simply a duck. His mustache would give you curl-ups, whatever that means. The curl-ups of the heart. Have you anything eatable left? And I'm literally starving. Ah, I guess likely Marilla loaded you up with cake. That's why I called around. Otherwise, I'd have gone to the park to hear the band play with Frank Stockley. He boards the same place as I do, and he's a sport. He noticed in class today and asked me who the red-headed girl was. I told him you were an orphan that the Cuthberts had adopted, and nobody knew very much about what you'd been before that.
I was wondering if, after all, solitude and tears were not more satisfactory than Josie Pye's companionship. When Jane and Ruby appeared, each with an inch of Queen's color ribbon purple, and sorry, each with an inch of Queen's color ribbon, purple and scarlet, pinned proudly to her coat. As Josie was not speaking to Jane just then, she had to subside into comparative harmlessness,
Well,
said
I
Jane
feel
with
as
a
if I'd
sigh.
lived. Sorry. I feel as if I'd lived many moons since the morning. I ought to be home studying my Virgil. That horrid old professor gave us 20 lines to start in on tomorrow. But I simply couldn't settle down to study tonight, Anne. Methinks study tonight. Anne, methinks I see the traces of tears. If you've been crying, do own up. It will restore my self-respect, for I was shedding tears freely before Ruby came along. I don't mind being a goose so much if someone else is goosey too. Cake? You'll give me a teeny piece, won't you? Thank you. It has the real Avonlea flavor.
Ruby, perceiving the Queen's calendar lying on the table, wanted to know if Anne meant to try for the gold medal. Anne blushed and admitted she was thinking of it,
Reminds me,
said Josie.
Queen's is to get one of the Avery scholarship after all. The word came today. Frank Stockley told me. His uncle is one of the board of governors, you know. It will be announced in the academy tomorrow.
An Avery scholarship! Anne felt her heart beat more quickly, and the horizons of her ambition shifted and broadened as if by magic. Before Josie had told the news, Anne's highest pinnacle of aspiration had been a teacher's provincial license, first class, at the end of the year, and perhaps a medal. But now, in one moment, Anne saw herself winning the Avery Scholarship, taking an arts course at Redmond College, and graduating in a gown and mortar board before the echo of Josie's words had died away. For the very Avery Scholarship was in English, and Anne felt that here her foot was on native heath. A wealthy manufacturer of New Brunswick had died and left part of his fortune to endow a large number of scholarships to be distributed among the various high schools and academies of the maritime provinces, according to their respective standings. There had been much doubt whether one would be allotted to Queen's, but the matter was settled at last, and at the end of the year, the graduate who made the highest mark in English and English literature would win the scholarship. $250 a year for 4 years at Redmond College. No wonder that Anne went to bed that night with tingling cheeks.
I'll win that scholarship if hard work can do it,
She resolved.
Wouldn't Matthew be proud if I got to be a BA? Oh, it's delightful to have ambitions. I'm so glad I have such a lot, and there never seems to be any end to them. That's the best of it. Just as soon as you attain to one ambition, you see another one glittering higher up still. It does make life so interesting.
End of chapter.
I love that in this chapter a lot of the dialogue that Anne had solo in the anime was depicted as her writing a letter to Diana.
Yeah, they did a really good job. They really did a really good job adapting that.
Something was changed though. The cakes became cookies.
Oh. Yeah, I
And I
think
think Josie ate all of them too.
If not at least half, I think.
yeah, she was munching away. But one thing hasn't changed. How insufferable Josie is, you guys. Just when I thought that maybe she could redeem herself here. She's like, yeah, there's a guy. I told him that you were an orphan and a nobody. I wonder why she had to go and do that. Jeez.
Did I make her insufferable enough? I tried
Yes, you did a
to
good
give her a a hoity-toity annoying voice.
Congratulations. You outdid yourself. You did good.
It is interesting though. Josie Pie's like, I came here to laugh at you, basically. I think she was looking for a touch of the familiar as well.
Of course.
Yeah, I got that
Probably,
sense
yeah,
as
I'd
well.
say.
Even though Anne was very happy to be like, oh, someone from home, let's have some Avonlea spirit here, and halfway through she's like, why did I want her?
I mean, let's face it. Even in class, wherein the only familiar face was Gilbert, she was negative about it at first, but then relented that it's better to have one familiar face than not, even if that familiar face happens to be Gilbert.
Oh. Well, let's see. So, speaking of Gilbert, let me not forget this point. She admits to herself that he has a splendid chin or something like that. Oh, and
If you're shipping Anne and Gilbert, you're eating well tonight.
so let's see. Anything else about this chapter? It's her first night over on Charlottetown, whatever.
Charlottetown?
And Queens there. So it just reminds me of like the first time I had to like, grow up and leave home and whatnot. It was scary. It was I had a little anxiety. I was just out of college, I think. So I wasn't too young. But it did bring back to mind those feelings. I don't know about you guys, but I remember those times. Anybody else here remember like when they first went off to, away from home for an extended period?
Yeah, I definitely felt some homesickness when I first, during my first time away from our family, because straight out of college I went from Philippines to China to study in China. So I was on my own in the dormitory. And I do recall getting a bit homesick at that time because one, the language barrier and all that. Every day going out, I have to ask, can you speak in English? No. Can you speak in Hokkien? No. Okay, I have to get out, think of any Mandarin that I can think of just to converse.
Man,
That had to be rough.
yeah, much.
Before we started the stream, I was telling Magpie and Teal about a trip I had in Japan and trying to converse with some friends in Japanese, and I'm sure I embarrassed the hell out of myself with my very broken Japanese.
It happens. I think
What did you tell them? You're like, watashi wa baka American.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. And yes, watashi wa is definitely the feminine form, but I probably would have used it mistakenly.
It's also the polite form.
Technically, no.
Yeah.
Technically, no. Watashi is polite form. Men and women use watashi. It's atashi that's more female, like without the W.
Oh my gosh, there's.
So you would have been like, Atashi baka American.
He wants you to be a girl.
I noticed that. What the hell, Crusher?
Looks like I am the baka here.
Let me not forget that Crusher, he wants to Crusher, why didn't you remind me about the AI, the art you did? So
Don't worry about it.
Yes, show the art.
I am going to show the art.
It's just cringe art.
Oh my. Okay. I can handle it. I've seen all kinds of abominations in the server, especially when
My bad.
Mutton chop Ferdinand.
No. Where is it? Where is the art? Where's the art? Crusher, where'd you post it?
In the usual spot, voice chat.
Voice chat.
Hashtag voice chat or
See, voice chat.
voice chat? No, I don't see it. Oh, I see it. I see it now. Hold on a sec. Let me just share it. Aw, cute. That is very cute. The only thing I have an issue with is that all the audience is looking away from her. That's all.
I know.
But it
Where
is
is it? Where
AI,
is it?
so it's not. I'm showing it. It's in hashtag voice chat.
I
That's-
have one that has them
I see it
facing
now.
her though. Do you want to see it?
Sure, share it by all means. By the way, last
But
time
like they look very bored though.
the other
They're
day,
facing her, but they look very bored.
I'm sure the Maiden's Vow would be boring to some people, but not to us. By the way, I'm also sharing or showing the other one that you did on Friday, which I forgot to show because it was the end of the stream and I forgot to show it. But there it is. Here is Anne and Gilbert taking the exams course. You guys, I don't know. There's something about seeing the Ghibli faces that it's like my mind thinks that it exists. I don't know. It just goes so well. The Ghibli with the Anne of Green Gables, it just goes so well. I don't know why. It just does. Oh, there it is. I see. It's cute. It's still cute. It's fine. It's fine. They're not bored. They're being polite. There you go. They're just tiny people. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's like 3 meters tall.
Yeah. But
They're munchkins.
thank you for sharing your artwork with us. Your generation. Artwork generation. All right, folks. I have to go. I wish I didn't have to go, you guys, because I'm having too much fun. And we have rare showings, wild appearances of Akihana and Crusher, who hardly ever join us. So I am very, very lost to call the end of this meeting. However, I did tell. I have to go. By the way, let me just see some. Fuji Peros is in the chat, also saying, yeah. So it does work. It doesn't work. You basically start typing at. And then, because they're asking, how do you tag people? You just start typing at, and then start typing the person's name. So, like for example, you have Akihana, and it should pop up. If it doesn't work, try refreshing the page. Sometimes that helps. So, for example, here I'm tagging Akihana, and I'm tagging Patrick, and I'm tagging Teal, and I'm.
To be
For
fair,
sure.
Magpie, if you're doing this on a device like a phone or maybe a tablet, yeah, it's not gonna pick up like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That is
it's not.
true.
It never really picks up on the phone
Oh, I see.
or
I see.
tablet.
Thank you for that.
You just have to type the whole thing out yourself.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it won't highlight sometimes, but what can we do? YouTube is YouTubing. All right, folks. So I just want to say thank you so much to all of you who came and joined us for this read along, and thank you for the folks who read today. We had Teal reading Anne, and Marilla, and Jane. We had me, Magpie, yay, reading narrator and Diana. We had Patrick who read Mrs. Evans and Matthew. And finally, we had Akihana who read Miss Berry and Josie Pie. Highlights brought to you by Hiremi and Teal. And of course, this read-along is made possible by supporters of this channel. So if you want more read-alongs, be sure to join this channel. Click that little button in the bottom so you can be part of this group. And you can make sure that we continue doing things like this in the future. All right, folks, I'm off.
Yes, share that channel.
Did I do well? Was that to your satisfaction?
You're learning so well.
Yes, Fuji Pedal says, may Evergleep keep this live stream up until next, yeah. No, wait, may Evergleep keep this live stream. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, darling. Can you please clarify? Because if you invoke the name of Evergleep, yes, we're Baka nobles here. And I suck at euphemisms, so it could be many
are you
things.
Gadult? So would Ellie keep you away from everybody else?
I don't know. Please clarify.
We just love this stream so much, we want to lock it in ice forever.
There you go.
By the way, I do have live streams that are locked in ice and can only be unlocked by members. Black curse. All right. Well, I'll take that. I wish you all Black curse evening. We will see you on Friday. And don't forget, we do Friday read along at 1 p.m. Pacific. So hope you join us then. Until Friday, take care and love you all. Say bye-bye, gang. I'm off.
Bye.
Bye, gang.
Adios.
Sorry.
Sayonara.
Adios.
And by the way, thank you so much to Patrick.
Adios.
Sorry. Thank you so much to Patrick and Crusher who supported during the live via super chat. So thank you guys. I did not forget. Bye everybody.
Yay.